grab your cup. Let's talk today about emotional styles, the style that you use to handle your emotions, because whatever the style is, significantly plays into the dynamics of your relationships, especially any romantic partnerships for sure, but even other relationships, even extended family, people at work, co-workers, things like that. The way that you manage your emotions, okay? So there's 6 different styles. I want you to listen to each one and think about what one you tend to really fall into. And here's the thing, especially in our romantic partnerships, and because those tend to have the higher stress potential, right? Those are the ones where we care the most about. We're going to care a lot more about our partner than we are about our coworker. So the default ways that we've created to handle anything in our life, the way we communicate, the way we feel things, the way we strategize to get through things, any of those are going to be heightened in our intimate romantic relationships, right? So here we go. There's 6 different styles of how you manage your emotions. The first one is basically you don't. It's called avoidant. So a person who has an avoidant style avoids feeling emotions. They, will push it under the rug. They don't want to deal with it. They might keep themselves really busy in order to not feel the emotions. So that person may just be always doing things, not ever still enough to actually notice what they're feeling. So that's an avoidant style of handling your emotions. The next style is analyzing, overanalyzing. That might be someone who really, when they were growing up, being intellectual was very regarded as important, right? So that's the way that their family always was, very intellectual, which meant we analyze things, we talk about things, we're always up here. But the thing about emotions is emotions are in your body. You can't think your way through an emotion. You can only feel your way through an emotion. So when you're avoiding feeling it, or when you're just intellectualizing it and analyzing it, trying to come up with a problem from up here without really feeling it, doesn't work very well, okay? The third style of emotions is blaming. That's a person who's blaming other people for the emotions that they're feeling. And I think that one's really common. I mean, they're all pretty common, I guess. But blaming, just because how often do you even hear the phrase, she makes me feel so guilty. He makes me upset. I feel so stupid around them. I feel whatever because of someone else. So when you're doing that, you're not taking responsibility for your emotions. And guess what? They're your emotions. Whatever somebody says or does, they might say, it's your turn to have Thanksgiving dinner. It might be a mother-in-law who says what she says that, puts you into guilt. But it's when you realize, I put myself into guilt. I make myself guilty. It has nothing to do with what she says. It's the way I interpret what she says and then what I make that mean about myself. That's what causes the guilt. So people who are always blaming are not being responsible for. They actually think they didn't cause their emotions. The good news is you are 100% responsible for your emotions, which means once you get that and once you go to work at where they come from for you, then you can change them. Then you're not spending your life in guilt or sadness or whatever, okay, thinking that it's happening to you. The next one is somebody who's very empathic, an empath. That person spends a lot of time paying attention to other people's emotions. But here's the thing, what that gets them to do or allows them to do is not pay attention to their own. So it feels like I can't help it, I'm tuned into everybody else, but it's actually become a lot of the time, it's become a way of avoiding your own by being tuned into everybody else's. I can tell this person's feeling that and that person's feeling that, and I'm pulled over here because of how they are. So an empath is not really paying attention to their own emotions because they're too caught up in everybody else's, okay? The next style of how you handle your emotions is called state changes. So it's using external things to change your internal state. This one also, I think, is very common. It's using things however you're feeling, using something outside of you to shift the feeling. So it might be like, oh my God, this is a glass of wine kind of day. I need to have a glass of wine to relax. It might be, I'm gonna numb out on Netflix. I'm just gonna binge watch Netflix. It might be food. So a lot of people have really used food as a way to shift their emotional state. It's really any substance, anything. And there are some things that are better choices, like taking a walk in nature to help shift your emotional state. So it's not necessarily that they're all bad, but when you're using external things, you want to look at what you're using to shift your internal state. And then the last one is somatizing, or a somatic style of handling emotions, which is I shove them down into my body. So that's somebody who, they're not up here intellectualizing them. The emotions are down in their body, but they're not processing them. They're still not allowing themselves to feel. So the emotions, remember, emotion is energy in motion. It's energy. So the emotion of anger, which has a strong energy to it, or the emotion of sadness, or the emotion of shame, whatever it is staying stuck in the body. And people who have chronic pain, people who have any health issues, any place where their systems have gotten impacted because of a chronic way of being, and they've worked on all of the external things. They've changed their diet, they've done supplements, they've added in exercise, whatever it is, and you're still not shifting that. The place to look is your emotions, because people who somatize their emotions are holding them in their body. Some people tend to do that more than others. So those 6 different styles are going to be how most people fall into when they haven't really learned that it's safe, that it's okay, that nothing bad is going to happen, that their emotions are something that they're in control of, and that they can choose how long they stay in them. You can choose that too, including grief. You can choose. Not that grief isn't going to come up again as different things. You have different memories, or different times of the year grief may come back. But even grief, you have the choice of how long you stay there. So those are all of the different emotional states. And I just invite you to look at, again, how does that impact my relationships? How do I show up for people if I'm always avoiding, if I'm always blaming, if I never really feel, if I hold things in my body? What's it like to be in relationship with me when I have those emotional styles, okay? And that's one of the things you can really shift, because that style got learned. It's not how you are. It's not written in stone. It got learned as a way of dealing with it in a way that felt safe. If you can see that it's, not working for you, drop me a comment so that we can talk about what would need to happen so that you can really shift that, okay? Those are the 6 emotional styles that people tend to have. I look forward to hearing from you if you're on the path of changing all of your life, because as we go into all these pieces, they impact all of your life. Have a good day.